Happy Thanksgiving. I mean, of all the things to be, you could be a turkey. Unfortunately, some people be turning YouTube into like their own personal turkey shoot. But ain't gotta be like that. So, greetings from Los Angeles. I mean, it's crazy out there on the roads right now. I'm not sure I'd even want to roll. I'm not sure I'm going to save this one either. This might just be like a real live. People who actually want to watch, like, and see what's up. But it's crazy out here in the streets. I mean, people just like lose their minds and they become sociopathic behind the wheel. And then I hear people being like, oh, you shouldn't stream and drive. But I don't know. I think driving in LA go hand in hand. And I mean, things are what they are in this city. So, I mean, as a journalist, like, I mean, I just write what I write because when I want to write it. But I mean, maybe I should break out the credential. I don't know. I mean, some people be watching the City Hall coverage, other people don't. But City Hall is important. And I'll tell you why, because like City Hall is where the decision making is. And along with the county, the city and the county control so much about our lives here that you really have to like just like wonder, right? Like, you know, why are things are the way they are in this city? So I might have to go run into the back here, but I forgot the credential. But I mean, what the hell, right? Like, why not? Like, what's the worst that could happen on YouTube? Out of all places, the night before Thanksgiving. And like, I know some people are good. Like, some people, you know, they are watching that background. They're like, boom, 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 boom. They'll kill all the turkeys if you let them. And there won't be any turkeys for anybody else. Like, they call that the tragedy of the comments. So like YouTube is a common, social media is a common, and like certainly like what's happening like in this country at least is people, you know, can't handle the comments. I mean, I don't know how much of this I actually control. I mean, social media is extremely, you know, dangerous on its own, and like you have to certainly be careful. Like I've learned things about social media that like are almost mind-boggling. And I mean, obviously, like, people can spy you at your home too. As soon as you're a public figure, right? As soon as you're public in any type of way, like, people will be getting you know, really, really snappy. And you know, to the extent to which like YouTube is stupefying sometimes, like even I don't understand. I mean, I think, you know, the classic thing to do, right, is like sit in your home, right? Sit in your home studio, but they can get you there too. But I think the whole topic is overplayed, and that's not even like what I like talking about. I mean, I try to let that stuff go. Like people are gonna do what they're gonna do. But like as long as like you keep it real, like, and you're a real person, like who actually like has something to say, I hope it goes across. I mean, certainly like Kevin De Leon, for example, is mad at me. Council member going out, he is mad at me. And like, I can't blame him. Like, I expose his shit. You know, I have gone after Kevin De Leon and USC, and now even Nithya Raman is mad at me. Like, even Nithya is mad at me. So like whatever, Nithya. I have no comment on that. I am not in the know about anything. I'm here to wish people a happy Thanksgiving. I mean, I think it's important, you know, not to like totally like random like fucking shit go down. But it is what it is. And this is a big city. There's enough room in this city for a whole bunch of people. I mean, I'm working on homelessness. You know, I'm working on political corruption. You know, like people keep going, is he gonna do Scientology? No, no. Like I've covered that. If I thought there was more of a story there that it could be easily drug out, I would. But like what goes on inside of those buildings is so hidden. And then it's so dangerous. It is dangerous. I don't know what those people do. I don't imagine that I'm off their list. Like from what, like I saw Steph Wrights the other day say that a Scientologist walked up and greeted her by name. And like, I like Steph Wrights. Like, I think Steph Wrights is cool. I support journalism. Like, you know, it is a fair playing field. Like, you know where people kill journalists? The Middle East. The Middle East. They are killing journalists in droves. Palestinian journalists, right? And people object to that. So like, is it a free press or not? But like, yeah, like, I mean, I think like anybody else, like, you know, if you're going to enter into that arena, you got to go like, be careful because you just don't even freaking know. I mean, and then like, I mean, it's crazy to think that the live is so dangerous, but it is. And like one of the things I have questions about, like particularly about live streaming, right, is the extent to which, right, like YouTube, you know, compared to say TikTok, like enables sort of dangerous behavior. I mean, it'd be like one thing to think like, okay, you can just lag it like 20 minutes, right, and the turkey doesn't get shot. But like people are gonna pop the turkeys when they're gonna pop the turkeys. And some people are deep frying them. Dominic Choi deep frying those turkeys at LAP headquarters. I mean, I guess that's what LAPD does. I mean, I'm critical of LAPD too, and other law enforcement agencies, you know? Like, I'm exposing the police union. I mean, I'm covering trials, right? Like, that other people won't touch. They don't want to talk about the Black Lives Matter attorney, you know, getting his home raided. They don't want to talk about how the police union is suing two of their own, right? Over hacking, computer hacking. And it's the shadiest thing. Like, I agree, the police union is shady. It is shady. And I've had questions about that in political corruption for a long time. For a very long time. But like, what I really like writing about like these days is like human beings, right? So like, I've been writing a lot about homelessness. And I think it's a really important topic because like, it's getting to the point here where we don't even know where the money went. And you can send the professionals in to do the audit and you still won't know where all that money went. We're talking missing millions, like $50 million, right? That's not properly invoiced at the county level. And at the city level, we're talking a couple $100 million still. I have not heard that number get winnowed down. And, you know, I think that's a noble cause, right? Like, where did the money go that the taxpayers allocated for homelessness, right? To address this crisis and this problem, like, where did it go? And even if we had the money, right, all of the money, why is this not working so well, right? Like, what are the problems with homelessness? And I hope that we can address that. Like, I hope that we can do that, you know, like in a way, right? It's more than just billing. It is more than just billing. It is the effectiveness of the programs that we have. And that is a sincere and like, you know, real problem. Like, why are we not engaging people? Why does this not work? Like, what are we doing wrong that is not getting people off the street? And like, there's other things too, right? People talk about Skid Row, they talk about MacArthur Park, they talk about Figueroa Street in South LA. And, you know, I think that like Fig Street and like human trafficking, right? Like literally like sex trafficking is a whole like different thing on its own. But it's also related. Like, it's people who don't have homes, who are in desperate situations, who are, you know, caught in this sort of black, you know, economy, like black market, not, you know, not necessarily black because you got Latinos out there too. It's a brown market too, like that. But, you know, the human trafficking that goes on is a real problem. I got hit up after I wrote that article about Figueroa Street by a human trafficking nonprofit. They read that article and they went, this is a serious freaking article about Figueroa Street. And I'm not the only journalist in LA to ever write about Figueroa Street. But like, what happens down there is totally, totally real. And it is not a game. And I'm going to be writing about it again. I got more CPRAs in progress. I'm working on building out, right, the network of sources and contacts you need to try to get at that. And like, you know, to do serious investigative journalism, you know, on a topic, right, like, you know, where the DOJ, right, the DOJ, the Department of Justice, is spending serious amounts of money down here. Not as much as on homelessness, but it's not working. It is not working. We're working right now on things. I'll be back here in just a second. But I think that, like, oh, there goes the black cat. I'm gonna get the don't be doing that. All right, so, I mean, you know, this is where I go, like, you know, this can be a tool, or it can be a game. I think I hear the preachers. But don't be making those comments in that chat, because I don't know. I mean, that's where you just go, oop, goodbye. I've been busy. I got a life to live. I've been hey, anybody who's on the Substack sees I am covering shit. I think that YouTube, I just burned out on YouTubing. I think it's an accountability tool. Like, I think that, like, showing reality is important. Like, I think, you know, from a government sense, like, it's useful on that front. And then, like, I think that, like, you know, certainly, like, people got to be behaving themselves. If you can't behave and do this shit, like, go do something else. And, like, a degree of this is entertainment, but it's also real life. It is also real life. But to the extent that, like, I think that just having a conversation about Thanksgiving, about journalism, about even YouTube is certainly necessary. But I'm not gonna spend all night on this. I got a life to live too, right? But, like, one thing that, like, I've always cared about is people, man. And, like, to the extent that, like, any good story, right, combines on the ground information, right, with, you know, a higher level of investigation and, you know, even interrogation of people, sometimes, like, you will get a better story. So, I mean, I think there is a story in Los Angeles. I mean, obviously the Olympics are coming. People are very concerned about the Olympics, like, where that's going. And we're just gonna, you know, have to ask questions, right? Like, why are things the way they are? There's a U.S. Attorney's task force, actually, targeting Figueroa Street. There might be a U.S. Attorney's task force coming on homeless billing, like, because that's federal money. That is federal money. And when you mess with federal money, you mess with federal laws, the feds come after you. And I might be one of the few people in Los Angeles who kind of has an idea of what it's like being on the other side, right, of, like, federal investigations, you know, particularly into political corruption because of USC. And I write about that. It's on the Substack. You know, that you don't want to mess with those people. Like, you really, really don't. They have a really high, like, win rate. Like, we're talking like 90%. And, you know, that is, like, a hard thing to fuck with. But life is what it is. And life goes on, man. I mean, I was at the center of a federal corruption probe. And, like, nobody reads the Mark Ridley Thomas articles. That gets me wrong, because that is about the heart of corruption, the heart of beating corruption in Los Angeles, right? Do politicians get to take bribes? Do they get to engage in conspiracy and fraud? Like, does it be like that? And I mean, certainly like Jose Huizar, if you don't know Jose Huizar, Huizar is doing time, like 13 years. 13 years Huizar got. You know, that's a lot of time. And he's got 4 kids. So some of the other people got off easy. You know, they got off easy. Huizar took the hard hit. And I'm working on trying to figure out who he's squealing. What the fuck? You get some weird random text messages. But like, I'll be curious, you know, right? Like, and actually like one thing I want to do is like, I mean, I certainly like, I love working with the people in the city who also report on law enforcement, because like there's only a handful of them. And your ability to like tell stories, right? Like whether like what it's like inside LA County Jail, right? Like if you want to know what it's like inside LA County Jail, you want to talk to Carrie Blakinger at the LA Times. If you want to know what's going on with LAPD, you got to talk to Laborjani at the LA Times. There are not that many other dedicated law enforcement journalists in Los Angeles. And I consider both those people my friends. And I try to cover, you know, kind of like multi-level investigations, right? Like everything from, you know, U.S. Attorney's Office, to the FBI, to complex LAPD investigations. I try to cover it all. And so there is a U.S. Attorney's task force on this. I'm going to be curious to see what the results are. They had multiple cases that they were citing, right, as the basis, right, for what they were already doing down here to create a new sense of control. But like, and they have a lot of DOJ money going into 77th Street Vice Division. It's so early as fuck. I got shit to do tonight. We're not spending the whole night on YouTube. And we're going to be careful about location, because people be fucking getting ahead of themselves and thinking that like they can just do whatever the hell they want. And like, I don't even know, but that's the game we're playing. I mean, the Nightcrawler was Richard Ramirez, a serial killer. I am not a serial killer. I'm a journalist. Oh, check this out. It's a freaking yellow Camaro. All right, Kid Freshy's getting banned. Kid Freshy is out. Remove. That one's gone. That one's gone. That would violate the terms of service, sir. So, out. But we're just having a quick conversation. The freeway is jammed up. I mean, can people track my movements? Probably. Yeah, I mean, the scanners, I mean, it's good to know what's going on. There's a computer, you know, you can get electronic scanners too. Sometimes I listen to scanners. I mean, sometimes I get warnings too from people who are also listening to the scanner. The scanning like community here, I think, is going down a little bit. Yeah, hey, I don't be bringing those negative vibes in. Otherwise, I'm gonna go back underground. And I mean, I'm trying to be cautious anyways, just because I don't know what people will do. I just don't know what people will do sometimes. And I think that like people need to understand, right, in this city, that the press has been eviscerated. The LA Times is not what it used to be. And people are struggling. And like the more corruption seeps into our society, the worse it's gonna get. I need to take him completely out of the chat. He had a sorry bro, but that might be a complete bounce. I mean, we're gonna put a little time out on that. Let's put a little bit of time out, you know, on the commentary there. Don't be bringing those negative vibes. Yeah, I mean, the LA Times is dying. Other papers are really, really struggling too. And like, certainly like, I support the independent presses in Los Angeles, you know, your LA Tacos, your LA Public Press. Knock LA, unfortunately, is really, going sideways. I don't know. Journalists fighting with journalists in this city just need to stop it. And like, I know those people, and I saw them all on election night, and I was like, why are you whining? Why are you whining? Like, don't whine. Don't whine. Because as soon as you start whining about it, you're just going to make it worse. So we're going to throw a deke in. I don't like making it that easy for them. It's like the Mighty Ducks. To the extent that like live streaming in and of itself is like an incredibly risky activity. I mean, trying to cover real life shit, or even it is like another thing. And I mean, that's the problem, is so people aren't readers anymore, right? Like, we know this. People are not readers. Like, it's like I put out journalism on a regular basis, right? And people aren't even reading. And then like podcasting is its thing. I should do more podcasting. I really should do more podcasting because we have some interesting things to do. I was actually working on a documentary film with somebody, but they are getting cold feet about the story. And I'm like, you cannot be that afraid of a big story. If you're that afraid of where this story goes, to the point you don't want to touch it, like, don't be so afraid. And like, that one goes right back to Kevin De Leon. And like, people who watch City Hall coverage I've been doing lately understand I am after that man. And I will be after him even when he is out of office. I will be after Kevin De Leon because I don't believe his story. What he is saying, right, is that he doesn't know, that he thinks that these two people who the police actually cited had insufficient evidence are guilty for wiretapping him. And like, I love electronic deception. I will investigate some electronic deception, but like, I definitely like the politics side better. Like the other day, like one of the U.S. Marshals at the cross was like, why don't you cover, ammunition? I'm like, what, you mean like violent crime cases? I mean, violent crime, yeah, there's already a bunch of stringers on that type of stuff. Like, the television news covers that type of thing, right? Like, the television news shows up, right, when there's something they can point the cameras at. Like, the Hunter Biden trial was the biggest freaking zoo I've ever seen in my life, as far as the press. For a guy to plead guilty, to lying about his taxes, to avoid a trial, right, an embarrassing trial in which his life of, crack cocaine, and strippers would have been like front and center. And like, I watched Hunter Biden and I almost felt sorry for him. I mean, again, when the feds are after you like that, they are really after you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Biden's gonna pardon his son, but I almost hope he does. I mean, the kid was guilty, right? But, and I was thinking, I have to check the sentencing date, because I'm not sure when sentencing is. I'm sure it'll be in the news. Tom Girardi's sentencing got pushed back 2 weeks. And, like, I kind of wish that, like, with Girardi at least, they would hurry up and just lock him up, because that guy's going to die a free man, and he shouldn't. But, like, all good things in time. Like, one thing I know about investigations, court cases, criminal procedures, that shit takes a while. It takes a while to do. It is not a speedy thing. And money talks. Money certainly talks. Like, the more money you got, the better lawyer you're going to get. And it's like horse racing. Like, you can literally gauge, like, who's got the better attorney. Hunter is Mastro up from Colombia. I mean, Hunter healed himself. Hunter became a better man. Like, people who hate on Hunter Biden don't appreciate that he actually turned his life around. Hunter actually got better. And like, I mean, I would hope that, like, this holiday season, if nothing else, that people are kind to each other, that they're charitable, that they, understand and show mercy to people, because like being merciless is not a good like characteristic to have. Like having no sympathy for people, having no compassion, you know, just walking all over, you know, life. Like, I don't know. I've never really liked people like that. Rick Caruso, cough, cough, cough. So, is what it is. But I don't know if I'm gonna stop or anything. I'm not doing this all night. I just figured I'd pop in, say what up, you know, happy Thanksgiving to people. Get your turkey. Don't crash into each other in that parking lot, like at the supermarket. Don't do that. Like, your insurance company will be calling. And like, I mean, one time I did get in a small crash here, like in the down like in the city here, and like it was because I was pushing too hard. My bumper got clipped, and by somebody driving down the middle of this exact street actually, and like that'll teach you to make a left turn through traffic. But I just hope people can be positive. Holidays should be a positive time. If we're all just after each other constantly, right? Like, it's not the spirit. It's crazy traffic. Everybody's trying to do their things. So I was just like, okay, I'll just hop on here, do a little bit of weaving, a little bit of whiz bang boom. Maybe people will be friendly, maybe not. And I don't think it's not even like, I mean, they wouldn't even let me in the damn photojournal association. They said I didn't spend enough time doing photojournalism with my GoPro or my phone. But hey, at least I'm an actual legitimate press member. And Kamala, when she's the buzz, Kamala's mistake, right, was being too much Kamala. You know, if Kamala had come out a little bit more liberal on things, you know, people might have showed up a little bit more to vote for her. And like, I think people are going to find out really, really fast that Donald Trump is not sane. And his ability to deliver on some of these promises he's making, like deporting people, is just not deliverable. I mean, illegal immigrants are not the problem in this country. This is Los Angeles. If you don't know, there's 700,000 undocumented people here in this city. 700,000. And of those, 70% of them have been here for 10 years or more. So like, that's a lot of people, right? That is a lot of people. And the idea that you're going to deport all those people is not only insane and offensive, it's counterproductive. Because as my good friend and my mentor, Gustavo Arellano, wrote the other day, and if you don't want to pay for the LA Times, at least like try to read Gustavo when you can for free. Because he was like, yeah, this is madness. Like, the food on your plate, right, is being made by illegal immigrants. They just make up that shit about Zelensky. The corruption allegations, right, against like the president of Ukraine are false. It is the Russian president who is corrupt. At 110%. 110%. And, you know, God help us, like, in this country, that, like, we do not have more compassion for each other. It's pretty light out. I mean, kind of like my next angle on this one is, I want to, like, I mean, it gets cold out here. Like, it does seem like it's still very early tonight. It is not late. I got things to do. I got places to be. But it is still very early. The guy's making deliveries. A little bit. I mean, give you a little bit more straight away, but people are very crafty with this. People are in the street. I'm gonna let them go. And like, it finally rained here just a little bit, and like, thank God, because like the city needed just a little bit of a cleaning. But I mean, I want to come out here with some like service providers. Maybe not Vice, but like definitely service providers. Like I gotta hit some of those people up. I don't know how much you can do interviews, and people have done like really solid articles on the trafficking situation down here in the past. But it's kind of interesting. To me, it looked a little bit better, and like it's dark already, but it's dark so early now. But I don't know if I'm gonna. I don't know if I want to like, like totally like pop and stop, make it a little bit too easy for people. I love LA though, and like I love our immigrant community. I love immigrants. Like, how dare you want to deport like people who make tacos for a living, and like people have been robbing the taqueros, and that's wrong. Oh, I'm so good. I wish more people would come to this country. The strongest part of this country, the strongest part is immigrants. It is immigrants. Immigrants. Most of us are immigrants, right? Like unless you are a Native American, you are an immigrant to this country. And like the degree of casual racism and like arrogance it takes to think that you don't need these people who are growing your fruits and vegetables in California, right? And then California is exporting them to you, is insane. And like, if people could come legally, they would. So that I hear those people, they go, oh, well, they should just come legally. But do you understand how restrictive they've made immigration and how in favor of the moneyed people it is? Like, legal immigration is totally in favor of people who can afford visas. And that means so often the investor visa, right? And that means money. And like, I can tell you from USC that people with money are able to get in. It is the poor people who are not. So like, and then the people who are refugees, right? Who are lining up at the border to come from places like Ukraine and Syria because their country is literally being destroyed by dictators. And like, why, like, if you view yourself as a Christian, why would you turn your blind side to those people? It's just cruel. It's just cruel. Yeah, but you guys have made it so hard for people to come through legally that the only way they can get in and out is illegally. And like, we're not even talking about people who are the subject of federal warrants. If you're the subject of a federal warrant, law enforcement here will cooperate and deport you with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. But if you've been in this country for 10 years, right, you're a law-abiding citizen otherwise, and you get a DUI, right, that shouldn't make you deportable. Deportation is a myth. The cost it would take to deport all of those people, the chaos, the pandemonium, it would be the ugliest thing in this country since World War II when we interned the Japanese. And Japanese Americans, Nisei. And if you want to learn, nope, we're not talking about that. If we're not talking, Nisei, right? You can go to the Japanese American National Museum in downtown and you can learn about that. So many of us are immigrants. I used to work for an Irish immigrant. I love the Irish. People discriminated against the Irish too. They had no Irish need apply signs out. Like, that's not cool. So maybe I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna be a pro-immigrant influencer because we need that shit, especially at Thanksgiving. God damn it! And I was talking to somebody earlier, and they were like, suddenly at Thanksgiving, people care about the Native Americans, right? Like, we have to like make pretty, right? Like, the Puritans were nice to the Indians, because for the rest of American history, we were not nice to the Indians. All right, that one's going on timeout. 24 hours. Ow. That word is banned. That word is banned. Banned status. Just like you guys have banned, right? Like, they banned the teaching of Native American languages in Indian schools. Like, they literally took away people's kids. because they couldn't handle it. Like, that's not cool. And, to the extent that, right, that, like, places of education, churches should be promoting, a more tolerant, a more liberal, a better society. They should. And, like, that's the best part of America. That is the best part of America. That we have immigration. I'm convoluting many different topics. I mean, not really. I mean, if we're going to talk about who has a right to be in this country, and that's what Trump is turning this into, because everything he does is about demonizing immigrants. Barack Obama said it. If you ask Donald Trump about any topic, almost, he is going to revert back to one thing, and that's immigration, and he's going to demonize immigrants, and it's true. It's so true. Completely true. And, like, I would love to deliver more accountability. I mean, I do know people who really do commit themselves to covering, the border and, what happens to refugees, right? Like, who come to this country seeking asylum. And, like, that's important, man. That is really, really important. So, shame on Donald Trump. Just a Mickey Mouse of a guy. I mean, and, like, personally, like, I get the real estate developer mentality, right? Like, the cult of success, I would call it, right? Like, that he's the most successful person, right, in this country. Shouldn't you want to be like him and join, his movement? And I get where it appeals to people, but the anti-immigrant sentiment that he routinely expresses is bananas. It's bananas, and it's in spite of all reality, right? It's in spite of everything that we, can and should know about being good to each other. I mean, some of us came right, on ships, both forward against their wheel. Other people come in, on airplanes. Other people get smuggled in tunnels, trunks of cars. And this is supposed to be the land of freedom. So, like, what the fuck is wrong with us if we don't want this to be the land of freedom? And, like, I would just say that if you want to say that they need to be legal, create a path for them. Create a legal path. Because otherwise there is no path. But I might give it a few more minutes here, and then I'm gonna cut. Because Thanksgiving, right? That spirit of friendship, right? That the Puritans, who were immigrants, had for the Native Americans of New England. That is what you're supposed to be celebrating tomorrow. But, like, Johnny Midnight, people crossed the ocean, right? And they discovered new land, right? But really, it's hocus pocus. It's a bunch of hocus pocus. You going? All right. I'll let this guy go. It is beyond hocus pocus. And, like, it is divorced from reality. It is not what makes sense. The tolerance and acceptance of people from all lands and countries is the most fundamentally American thing you can have. But throughout our history, right, we've had this paranoid streak, right? And that paranoia is winning. And so when I see all those scared people, right, like I saw at the Board of Supervisors yesterday, I see at LA City Hall, I see, at the police department, at police commission meetings, people are afraid. They are afraid that they are going to be wrongfully deported for simply wanted to come and have that American dream. And, like, I'll be damned if I don't use my voice in defense of those people. And, like, whether you are, people talking about in LA, right, a black-brown coalition, that black-brown coalition is fragile. When people mess with that the wrong way, you just create divisionism. And this idea, too, that we should begrudge people, basics. health insurance, food, a roof over their head. That's not Christian. That's the least Christian thing I can imagine. That is not Christian. That is absolutely not Christian. I mean, what did Jesus teach, right? You're supposed to take care of the strangers, right? Like, you're supposed to, take people who are seeking asylum instead of putting up a big closed door. And so what people have done, right, is they've made the door bigger. And they think that having a bigger door, a bigger wall, more border people, more technology is going to change that people want to be free. That is wrong. That is very naive. It's going to waste even more money than you're begrudging them in help. And immigrants are some of the hardest working people in this country too. Respect to our Native American community, respect to the immigrant community of this city, who are some of the hardest working people here, who are literally growing your fruits and vegetables tomorrow, don't forget it, who are taking care of your poultry, who are cleaning your hotel rooms when you travel, who are doing so many jobs for you. They even made a great movie called A Day Without a Mexican. And I'll see people, do that. Like what if all the Mexicans were gone, right? Like, Mexico is our neighbor. Like, we should be friends with Mexico. Instead, we've made frenemies. And that is not a healthy dynamic. It is not healthy. It is not right. Not at all. And, to the extent that, this return of Trump, is... so there's some nostalgia about this economy, right? Being in a wartime setting, right? Where, literally Trump leaves office and then Putin attacks Ukraine. Shocker. The man is a fucking opportunist. Putin is a despot, an absolute despot. And he's simply looking for an excuse to attack his neighbor, which is the least Christian thing you could do. Because he wants to make Russia great again. And Russia is not... I love the Russian people. I've met Russian people. Russian people can be very nice. But Putin is the joke, if you ask me. The fact that nobody has even tried, right? What happens if you try to overthrow Putin, right, is they throw you in the gulag. They get rid of you. That's what happens. You go down. You try to fight with Putin, mess with Putin, you'll end up poisoned, you'll end up dead. Is that what we want in this country? Just to take people out? In a cold, callous way, just to take them out? Is that what we're about? Eliminate my enemies, right? That's what Putin wants to do. And Trump wants to appease him. Trump doesn't care about Russian political refugees. Trump only cares about himself. The craziest thing, and this is a product of him being the son of, frankly, a Nazi sympathizer, is that he is, in fact, kind of brainwashed into thinking that. That is kind of his thinking, right? That Trump thinks that he's gonna make America Hitler managed to make Germany for just a little bit, and he's gonna throw off, right, the people who betrayed it. You'll never have to vote again, is what he said. And he quickly walked that back, and he was like, well, I didn't really mean it. Yeah, you meant it. That guy's a joke. I would, he has won. I don't even dispute the election results, but I don't think he's going to finish his 4 years because he's insane. And you can only play sane for so long. And things have been going in the wrong direction for a while, but America is paranoid. America is paranoid. It is paranoid. It is paranoid. It does not understand how to work through government. And that's why our government is so dysfunctional. And it's both parties. It's not just the liberals. It's not just the conservative. It's both sides are not using logic. They're just focusing on very narrow goals. And, I think that, it's good to be a one-issue voter, but, at the same time, our ability to work together has been seriously compromised by partisan politics to the point that it's entirely dysfunctional. And that is not healthy. That is not healthy at all. So, I'm going to wish people a happy Thanksgiving. But, we're going to have to try harder. Because otherwise, right, like, what's going to happen is you're just going to alienate a bunch of people. You're going to destroy the economy. And we're going to be more divided and less productive than ever. I mean, the man is threatening to deport 18 million people. I mean, again, the guy has a dictator fetish. He wants to be a dictator. He's comfortable doing dictatorial things, like trying to overthrow the government, by refusing to accept a free and fair election, right? His own generals are terrified of him. Like, this kind of closeted racism that goes on there is really kind of fascinating. It's like he wants the good ones, right? But the rest of them, he doesn't care. And like I heard my friend Melina Abdullah, the head of Black Lives Matter in Los Angeles, call him the devil. She doesn't like Kamal either, but she called him the devil, and I agree. We can have a debate, but Barack Obama gave two stable terms, to this country, like Obamacare, right? Trump won't even touch that. You know why? Because pre-existing conditions. Can you imagine you couldn't get health care for your kid because your kid is diabetic, because your kid is, has sleep apnea, and you would just be denied health insurance? Trump won't ever touch that. It is all about demonizing immigrants. It has very little to do with the economy, other than, that he won't regulate, like corporations, right? And like, do we remember what happened in 2009? What happened in 2009, right? Like, the markets crashed. And the reason they crashed is speculation. Because when you don't have any regulation, businesses get into trouble. They are overcapitalized. And it's like a boomerang effect. And like, it's actually like kind of like stabilized out for longer now than many other times, but it is seriously a problem. I don't know when we're gonna get another depression, that really, takes kind of like the big bubble out of, right, all this debt spending we've got, but it's coming. Waymo. I mean, there's technology, there's progress, and then there's just stupidity. And like, I'm afraid we're heading for stupider eras. But it's a beautiful city we live in. I think LA is a great place. Some people think it's a Democrat-run city and like some sort of dystopian hellscape, but this is like one of the largest economic engines in the country, right? Like, this is like the beating heart of the American economy. And like, I've been surprised that we haven't, seen more resistance so far, but I think some of it is coming. And you better back off that threat of deportation. Nobody's going to want that. If you think the grocery prices are too high right now, wait until the cost of produce doubles, because there's nobody to pick it. And I'll see Johnny Midnight out there working in those fields, picking lettuce, picking strawberries, picking oranges. Not everybody wants to do that work. So in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I will hope that at least the Trumpers can back off of this anti-immigrant sentiment that is irrational. It comes from nowhere logical, and it's not making America great again. In fact, it's making it worse. So, with love from LA, we're coming up here. This is going to be the graffiti towers, our symbol of corruption. The place, right, like the biggest signal of failure. And like, I'll tell you who's doing business in China. It's not Joe Biden. Not like that, he's not. So graffiti towers it is. I gotta like take you off. It's like hard to see, but our symbol of corruption. Everybody, remember this. Have a good